Okay, we're in section 116 today. This is a revelation given to Joseph Smith near White's Ferry, a place called Spring Hill, Davis County, Missouri, 18, May 19th, 1838. And it's this short. Spring Hill is named by the Lord Adam on Diamond, because, said he, it is the place where Adam shall visit his people, or the Ancient of Days shall sit, as spoken of by the prophet Daniel, Daniel the prophet. And we get that here, um, pointing out here that the song entitled Adam on Diamond, written by W. Phelps, was sung at the Kirtland Temple dedication as well. So it was well known, but this is the first time it was named, it sounds like, to the people. So in Daniel, it says, I the visions and saw in the night visions, and behold, one was like unto the Son of Man, came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there were given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him, as his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that shall be which shall not be destroyed, until the Ancient of Days came, and the judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possess the kingdom. So basically, that's saying that Adam was going to appear back at Adam on Diamond and claim his right as the first person. I don't know if you got all that from that. It might take more studying, but he was the Ancient of Days, and that he would sit at Adam on Diamond again at one time, and the Lord would be there, and he would present his, I guess, his children to the Lord in that way, which is all mankind really. And then I've got in historical references, here we go. We've got this picture here of Spring Hill, Adam on Diamond. And I believe the church has bought the land there now. And I just went to this article. It's a very long article, and I'll probably do a little bit tomorrow because it goes into section 17, but another relief kind of shown Adam on Diamond. During the final months of apostasy to affect the church in Kirtland, Ohio, many Latter-day Saints were disillusioned by the heavy financial losses as a result of the collapse of the Kirtland Safety Society, and began to reject the prophet's temporal and spiritual leadership. It's interesting that only 2 years earlier they had spiritual outpouring at the Kirtland Temple dedications and all the things that happened during that time. And now people are rejecting all of that because of financial situations. I think we can sometimes find ourselves caught up in worldly things that we forget um, the important things of life. Among the dissenters were several of the 12 apostles, the 70s, and the three witnesses of the Book of Mormon. Um, in a result, Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon received divine instruction to abandon labors in Kirtland and to flee to far west Missouri. But from the church's largest stake, they had to leave the church's largest stake in the first temple, and that had to be hard. I'm just going to skip through this a bit. As they approached far west after a long and tedious journey, Joseph and Sidney were met with Missouri saints with open arms and warm hearts to welcome us to the bosom of their society. But there is still all the news of all the things that were happening in Kirtland. Um, and even there in far west, um, W. Phelps and John Whitmer, both counselors in the state presidency, were accused of profiting from the sale of intended land intended for gathering of the saints to far west. Again, it seems to come down to um, the um, financial things. They have all these wonderful experiences, and then they forget them when their finances are involved. And also their part in the presidency selling of the Jackson County, contrary to previous revelation. See, again, it makes sense in the sense that they couldn't go back to Jackson County, so why not sell the land? But the Lord had given them revelation, saying otherwise. And are there times when we decide that what we hear from the prophets or something doesn't really pertain to us, but pertains to somebody else, or that we see it differently than what we think of it as different to us than other people. And I worry about that we can easily put ourselves um, contrary to previous revelation, and we miss out on things that really can help us and bless our lives. Um, I don't know what would have happened if they would have not sold the land in Jackson County, um, or any of the other things that happened um, in Far West. All these things have to be taken in the sense of what actually did happen. But it does seem interesting that even though it seems like the right thing to do, if the Lord tells us not to do it, hopefully we can follow that. And I'm saying that hopefully because I really do feel that even in our day today, there's so many things that the Lord would bless us with if we just followed Him a little bit closer and a little bit better. But He works with us and He keeps working with us. And so it tells us that both Whitmer and Oliver Cowdery were excommunicated that year. Um, and then there was the finding the place for the saints. There was tons coming in. There's about 5,000 people um, at the time of Joseph's arrival in Far West already, and there's going to be quite a few more afterwards. And in 115 that we read yesterday provided some direction to the First Presidency and Bishopric and High Council of Far West. Um, the availability of inexpensive land guided the church leaders as they looked for those other places to create new states in the region. Yesterday we talked about those other places, meaning outside of Far West, as dictated by Joseph Smith. And there's Caldwell County and other counties. But apparently, if they haven't been um, surveyed by government officials, then unsurveyed land could be worked without initial payment. And I think they were looking at that as well. So a lot of it was not purchased right away, but then would be given first rights if you were working the land to purchase the land after it was surveyed and went on sale from the federal government. So you could work the land, you could make some money off of it, but then you could buy the land from the government afterwards. So Davis County was one that had not been surveyed, is basically what it's saying. And basically, it's just saying that there's a lot of reason for that. Um, and then comes Adam, place where Adam shall come. While natural abundance in the land of Davis County provided for temporal needs of the gathering of the saints, Revelation also directed the saints to place great spiritual to a place of great spiritual significance. And as it says here, it says, which identified the region of Adam because he said it is a place where Adam shall come to visit his people, or the Ancient of Days shall sit, as spoken of by Daniel the prophet, which we'd already read, the actual scripture. Um, and so Adam becomes a very important part. Um, I think sorry I'm skipping so many things here, um, but it's more stuff that you can read yourself as well. The revelation concerning Adam suggests a significant role from Adam in the events preceding the Lord's second coming. Elaborating on Daniel's vision of the Ancient of Days, Joseph Smith later explained, all that have had keys must stand before him, Adam, at this grand council. The Son of Man stands before him, and there is given him glory and dominion. Adam delivers up his stewardship to Christ, which was delivered him, holding the keys of the universe, but retains his standing as head of the human family. So then they gather to Adam um, with its spiritual history and spiritual future. Um, and as they gather, um, this revelation reminded Joseph Smith and the saints that their place in the unfolding sacred history, that they weren't just leaving refugees from Kirtland, but they were gathering to a place. Um, and they were engaged in gathering the righteous to a location where Adam would one day turn over his stewardship to the Lord prior to the second coming. And so they established Adam-on-Diamond as a stake of Zion and was organized with John Smith as president of that stake. Um, with Lyman Wright as his first counselor. Um, by October, White, sorry, not Wright, White, recorded that upwards of 200 houses have been built in Adam-on-Diamond, with 40 families living in their wagons. That's quite a lot. I'm going to leave the weightier matters done. So this little, even though this was such a small um, revelation, one verse, it has a big impact on what we believe about Adam-on-Diamond and its purposes in the future. And we believe that those things will come about as close to the second coming. And even though they all got expelled from there, the land itself still seems to be rich. And even today, it's still a beautiful land, and it's not overcome by buildings and other things, which maybe if we stayed there, it would have been. I don't know. But in any case, it is Adam-on-Diamond, and it always will be from now on in our minds. And I hope you can think about how the Lord blesses you in your life each day, wherever you live, and how the Lord can visit you and your hearts and your minds to help you build up His kingdom wherever you are. And I say this, and hope you have a wonderful day. And we say this, and see you tomorrow.